Thank you. Oh, all right. Look at up.
Askari. Masera.
Message Dara. Message Dara.
Mwonzora komi jaba gani? Chairman. Grupo ya press conference yenyu.
Joseph.
The honorable.
Tato Gara.
The commission. The mashakada. Okay.
Ernesto, one more copy for the channel.
Mission accounts was good.
Excellent.
It was good. Watch account was the way I want to yabudirira kai. How to tunda sa ura kupezi.
The idiot was he got it, he left because he wanted to administer the group. Can I tell you what? The group will be administered. press conference and you introduce. We've done the statement. It's from here to there, but also attached to it are the resolutions. We are just reading them. We are not giving them the resolutions.
I'll just give an introduction. Meeting, it was well attended. Or the meeting to say something.
Maskat, maskat. Unotamba here. Yeah, good afternoon, members of the media. We don't want to hold you hostage any further. We've called you to this press conference to give you a feedback of our second National Council meeting. It was held yesterday. To do that will be the national chairman of the party, Senator Committee, and the Secretary General of the party, Honorable Mwonzora. So without much ado, my name, you already know me. I am Dr. Mwonzora. Without much further ado, I'll hand over to the national chairman, Senator Committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mwonzora. I would like to welcome all of you members of the press to this august occasion. Mdc-T had a beautiful National Council meeting yesterday. Prior to that, we had also a great National Executive meeting, which was done virtually. Our members participated well and friendly. They were free to express themselves. They welcomed our EOC program that we are currently running. All provinces were represented: United States, UK, South Africa, and the other 12 provinces that are there in this country. They were all represented. We debated a number of issues: the party stability, party strength, party challenges. We also debated issues of external Congress, the preparedness that we are, challenges and successes that we have. And finally, we come out with some resolutions on what we should do as a party, how we should behave, how we should conduct ourselves. And we are here today to communicate some of those details to you. I therefore call upon the Secretary General of the party to take you through.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Dr. Mwonzora. I want to join the chairman in welcoming you, members of the press. And we want to thank you for coming at such short notice. And I also know that there was communication of two times of starting. We want to apologize for that. I will read the statement on behalf of the party before we allow members of the press to join in with questions that you may have. The Movement for Democratic Change T held its second meeting of the National Council on the 18th of October 2020. This meeting, as the chairman has said, was well attended. These meetings, the two meetings, the National Council, the National Executive, were well attended. The meetings unanimously resolved that the extraordinary Congress of the party will be held in the week of the 13th to the 20th of December 2020. To that end, the nomination process in respect of the candidates vying for the office of president will be conducted from the 1st of November 2020, and it will take place in the 15 provinces of the MDC.
These provinces, again, as the chairperson has elucidated, include the 3 external provinces of the United States of America, UK and Ireland, as well as South Africa. The Congress process will be overseen by an independent electoral body to be appointed from the workers' representative organizations, both local and international, the churches, civil society organizations, as well as prominent persons. Independent observers will also be invited to witness the Congress processes. However, we will insist that these be formally accredited. So we will be giving notice to those people who want to observe the Congress processes to come for formal accreditation for obvious reasons. The meeting emphasized that the extraordinary Congress of the party, the processes, shall be open only to bona fide members of the MDC. All those people who have joined, formed, or are supporting other political parties other than the Mdc-T have ceased to belong to the party and cannot take part in these processes. This is so by virtue of operation of clause 510A of our constitution. All those people who have been recalled were recalled on the basis that they have ceased to be members of the party. They are also not eligible to participate in the extraordinary Congress and the Congress processes. The meeting totally rejected the calls by G40 and leaders of the MDC Alliance Party to allow their members to come to the Congress for purposes of voting at the process, at the Congress. We believe that these calls are merely to facilitate the destabilization of our Congress. We know that there are some people who always want to be stars in the absence of the sun. There is no sense in people who have already moved on and formed their own political parties to try and determine the leadership of another political party. The so-called MDC Alliance Party and their G40 colleagues can formalize their marriage, and we won't interfere with that. The meeting ratified all the recalls and expulsion of people who had left the party since the last National Council meeting of the 9th of May 2020. The meeting further noted that there were certain acts of indiscipline by some members and ordered that those officials should be dealt with fairly in terms of the constitution of the party. The party members expressed their commitment to the resolution of the national crisis through dialogue and peaceful means. The meeting also committed to the rebuilding of the party into a formidable force in preparation of the 2023 elections. For the sake of completeness, Mr. Chairman, allow me to read the exact resolutions. The resolutions of the National Council of the Mdc-T held on the 18th of October 2020. And we need to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the procedure is that the National Executive Committee meets first. It's a smaller group. It meets first and makes recommendations on certain issues of policy. And these recommendations are sent to the National Council that then deliberates and comes with resolutions. So the resolutions are as follows. Number one, to hold the extraordinary Congress in the week of the 13th to the 20th of December 2020. The Standing Committee is authorized to choose an earlier date subject to the Constitution should the circumstances of the case so permit. Open up provincial nominations of the possible party presidential candidates, and this will be postponed by at least a week from the 24th of October 2020 to allow for consultation with the processes. We had initially designed to start the nomination process on the 24th. That is being postponed by a week to allow consultation with the provinces on the issues of the venues and the dates. The new dates will be announced before the 22nd of October 2020 by the National Standing Committee. The nomination process will only be open to members of the Mdc-T. For the avoidance of doubt, anyone who is not a member of the Mdc-T for whatever reason cannot be nominated for any position of the leadership. Dynamos cannot choose a coach for Highlanders. For the smooth running of the Congress, there will be no floor nominations on the day of the extraordinary Congress. This is because after the nomination, we will do ballot printing. And people, the electorate will be told, will be given a symbol of the ballot. Now, if we were to allow floor nominations, that then presents a logistical nightmare for us. Authorize the appointment and drafting of terms of reference for the Independent Elections Management Body. This is to be done before the nominations. The Standing Committee is hereby mandated to appoint board members from workers' representative organizations, both local and international, churches, civil society organizations, as well as prominent persons. The list suggested should be submitted to the National Executive for final approval. Members of the board must not have held any positions in political parties for the past 5 years. Adopt all recalls and expulsions done so far in respect of all those members who have joined, supported, or formed other political parties. All those people who have joined, supported, or formed other political parties are deemed to have automatically terminated their own membership of the party in terms of Article 5.10.a of the Constitution of the party. This should also include members of the provincial councils elected in 2018. Commit to unity, cohesion, and respect for the fundamental freedoms in accordance with the founding values of the party. Commit to the rebuilding of the party at all levels and to make the party a formidable force to contest for state power in 2023. Commit ourselves to resolving the national crisis through following all possible avenues as guided by the party constitution and the national constitution. Commit the party to all forms of dialogue to resolve the national issues. Denounce and totally reject the calls by G40 and members of the MDC Alliance Party to come to the Congress for purposes of electing our substantive leader. Denounce acts of gross indiscipline, destabilization of the party, and bringing the name of the party into disrepute by Mr. Abednego Bebe and Mr. Paul Gorekore. The leadership hereby is hereby ordered to commence or pursue disciplinary actions against these two in terms of the party constitution. I need to explain the last resolution. There have been the National Council was of the opinion that there were acts of indiscipline, prima facie acts of indiscipline by Mr. Gorekore and Mr. Bebe, but we resolved that the two will be dealt with in terms of our constitution. How that is going to come out will be seen in the next few days. But we are not going to condemn our own. We are going to deal with our own in terms of the law. If you are a footballer at Dynamos and the rules say that you must attend practice sessions and you don't, be assured that the following Sunday you don't make the team. So if you breach the constitution of the party, there are certain consequences. But we want to assure all our supporters, we want to assure the nation that we will be as firm and as fair as we can with our own. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you. Those are the resolutions.
Thank you very much, the two gentlemen, National Chairman, Senator Committee, and the Secretary General, Senator Mwonzora. Now we open for questions from the media houses. What you need to do is just to stand up, identify yourself and your media house, and pose your question. The floor is all yours now. If there are any. Ladies, I may not be seeing what's behind you. Yes?
Thank you. My name is Leopold, and I'm newspaper.com. My question is to the chairperson. We have now seen disciplinary processes being initiated against Mwonzora, but you did not speak to the media the last time we met in the meeting. Is it possible for you to share with us what he told you, which he told the others up until we got to this situation?
Okay, I would recommend that you take the questions, you note down the questions, and then after a while, we give you a chance to respond. So just take note of this first question. Yes, my brother.
Blessed Mhlanga from Article TV and Wednesday. I noticed that you have recommended
Your question is directed to who?
to the that you through National Council resolution you have made a move to initiate disciplinary hearing on Pepe and Gorekore, but you did not afford the other members that you have recalled such courtesy. For instance, you recalled councillors from Harare City Council in particular, and the Secretary General was quoted as saying that you're facing allegation of corruption. That's why they recall. In fair justice would have demanded that they be heard and they be dealt with. You didn't do that. So, do you have a selective manner in which application of your standards in the Constitution? And my second question would be, my second question would be, there is a lot of difference in terms of communication that comes from your spokesperson, also from yourselves. Is there cohesion in the party? Because at some time the spokesperson doesn't know what is happening, and at times, and also I also wanted to really find out: is John Scala a member of the Mdc-T or the Mdc Alliance? And are you afraid of dealing with him because he is insistent that he's a member of the Mdc Alliance? If they call everyone else and they've left, do you fear him?
Are you inciting us to?
Blessed, do you have a beef with Job Scala? Thank you very much for the questions. Are there any other questions? Yes.
My name is Daniel Yotan. I'm very familiar with the Secretary General. You've seen that we have MDC Alliance doing primary elections.
Sorry?
What are you doing?
But
Anyway, Yotan from Spike Online.
Primary
Sorry.
elections. Can you repeat that?
I've seen MDC Alliance and PF conducting their by-elections. For example,
Primary for elections.
Yes. Kwazana, Kwekwe. What are you doing with MDC-T?
Thank you. I'll take the fourth one on this round. If I don't see you, just rise and say your name and speak. Okay, thanks. We'll then open the session for answers. We'll start with our national chairman.
Thank you so much. There was a question directed to me about Paul Gorekore, the meeting that I held at the HQ with him and the other guys. I did not share this with the media. I will not share this with the media, mainly because it's now in the Yavan process here, discipline. So otherwise, if I preempt that, there will be challenges. So for now, I think let's keep it to ourselves. You will hear it as we proceed with the decimal procedure.
Thank you. SG?
Thank you very much. If I may deal with the issues raised by my brother, Blessed Mshanga, on the right to be heard. The people who were recalled on the basis that they had, through signing of affidavits, through acts or omissions, formed, supported, or joined other political parties other than the Mdc-T. Now, if you form, join, or support another political party, then in terms of clause 5.10.a of the Constitution, you automatically terminate your membership. So these people were not expelled by us. They terminated their membership. And these are people who were knowledgeable of the provisions of the Constitution. They were certainly knowledgeable of clause 5.10.a because they'd used it before. So they terminated their membership, and we communicated to Parliament. We communicated to Council through the Minister of Local Government that these people had ceased to belong to our members. They terminated their membership. Regarding Abednego Bebe and Paul Gorekore, these are still members of the Mdc-T. If you are a member of the Mdc-T and there are allegations of misconduct against you, you are dealt with in terms of the constitutional procedure. And the constitutional procedure in the case of National Council members and is slightly different, where the person is a member of the National Standing Committee. Where a person is a member of the National Standing Committee, for example, if the National Council yesterday wanted to summarily expel Mr. Bebe, they would simply have voted, and a vote of 2/3 would have seen the expulsion of the member. That provision was not used. Instead, the National Council ruled that although there was prima facie evidence that there was an act of misconduct, it was proper that formal procedures be done to afford the member the right to be heard. This is because he is our member and we have jurisdiction over him. Mr. Gorekore is a member of the National Council. The provisions of clause 511 of the Constitution doesn't apply to him. And if the authorities so desire, he will be brought before a disciplinary committee, either appointed by the National Standing Committee as an ad hoc committee, or the disciplinary committee chaired by the national chairperson. We will decide on that, and he will be given the right to be heard. As you know, he has been suspended. We suspend members we suspend people who are members of our party. We take disciplinary action and afford the right to be heard of people who are members of our party. We have no jurisdiction to have a hearing in respect of a person who is no longer a member of our party. And if that person has terminated his membership by the mere fact of joining another political party, they have terminated their membership. What we simply do is we communicate that to the authorities. I'm not so sure what you were referring to when you were talking about the differences in communication with the spokesperson. As far as we are concerned, there are a number of officials that speak to the press, the president, the national chairperson, the secretary general, depending on what the issue is at hand. If we are talking of the National Council, as you know, in terms of our constitution, the person who chairs the National Council is the national chairperson. And therefore, He is the authority to communicate if there are important decisions. And as you know, in terms of the constitution, again, it is the Secretary General who convenes these meetings and draws up these resolutions. That's why you see us here. Senator Pugeni is on his way, I think, to Harare, and so on. There is no dislocation at all. He is the spokesperson of the party. He has spoken on behalf of the party. Please don't manufacture a difference that does not exist. As the national chairperson and the Secretary General, we have addressed the press before without our spokesperson and without our president. That does not mean that they don't know. You have asked a specific question about Mr. Scala, and I will answer this question on the legal part of your question. On the illegal part of your question, we don't have to answer that. And the legal part of your question is whether we are afraid of Mr. Scala or not. No, we are not. We are not afraid of Mr. Scala. He doesn't bite. And he is a person who holds certain views, some very strongly, and so on. And we do respect some of his views. Whose member is he? We do not know. He is yet to tell us the membership of his party. I haven't seen, and we haven't seen the affidavit that he signed renouncing membership of the party. But let me just say that all members of our party, if they commit acts of misconduct, will be dealt with in a fair manner. They will be afforded the right to be heard. But if you leave the party, for example, by signing the affidavits that were designed by the MDC Alliance lawyers, and I want to say to you, with all great respect to the lawyers involved, if there was anything unwise that they ever did, it was to ask the MPs to sign those affidavits. And those affidavits specifically stated that these people were no longer members of the Mdc-T. And if you specifically state that you are no longer a member of the Mdc-T, you have expelled yourself. But maybe they knew what they were doing. We are still studying to understand what exactly they wanted to achieve. As far as we are concerned, they have caused unnecessary hate to the MPs and so on. But by-elections, the very first person to talk about by-elections was the national chairperson here. And he said to you, members of the press, and my brother, brilliant, blessed you were there. The national chairperson said, we are ready for those by-elections. And I know that people have written a political obituary for us. And we want to say that people are in for a surprise. We are a party that is solid. We are a party that is strategic. They are holding their primaries and so on. Maybe they know the date of the by-election. We don't. And when we know of the dates of the by-elections, we will do our things. But unlike ZANU-PF, unlike the MDC Alliance, we are preparing for an extraordinary Congress. And because of that, we don't want to mix the two processes. We do not think that elections will be held this year because of the operation of the statutory instrument. And therefore, we are concentrating on the extraordinary Congress. But we will have candidates when the by-election comes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I take the last round of questions? Can you rise and ask your question? Question. Sorry? Okay, if there are no more questions, you can have a second bite of the cherry.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to find out from you, just recently, the acting spokesperson for ZANU-PF, Shinamasa, said that the people who opposed land reform and that those people who opposed the liberation struggle of Zimbabwe should not dream of ruling this country. And he also said that they do not deserve to rule this country. Now, in a democracy where the people who deserve or dream to rule this country are decided by an election in the ballot box, what do you think about this statement and its effects on democracy? And does it worry you? Does it even begin to worry you as the Mdc-T? I also wanted to understand from you, Secretary General, that in the aspect where you say that people formed their own political parties and they left, would you still be having Dr. Togo?
Sorry, can you manage that, please?
Would you still be having Dr. Togo Zanukubi as your president? Because she went and formed her own political party, the Mdc-T, and she ran as the president of the Mdc-T, while you and Senator Committee were running with the Mdc-T in the MDC alliance with your own president. I mean, clearly and distinctly, there were two political parties, the Mdc-T and the MDC alliance, who polled different number of votes. So, in that instance, would you still be having Dr. Tokozani? Because she automatically fired.
Can you ask your question, Blessed?
Yes, that's the question. She also automatically fired herself.
Don't comment.
Or it is you also automatically, I'm not very sure who fired the one, because you had two distinct parties. So is it you, Senator Mwonzora, fired yourself from the Mdc-T, or is it Dr. Tokozani? Who exactly?
Thank you for the question. Right, I'll allow the two gentlemen. Yes, want to come in? Yeah.
My question is, what do you think about those people, those you recruit? Those electors, are they happy so far? Because you said you are now concentrating on the Congress besides the by-elections. What are those electorate? What are they doing?
Okay. Thank you. I saw the two gentlemen whispering to each other as to which to start. I'm sure the national chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Mashakada. I'll attend to the question Chinamasa. I think one of the major reasons why MDC was established was to bring back the country to values. We strongly believe that ZANU-PF had problems in respecting the values. And these values are well enshrined in our party constitution, which are basically constitutionalism, democracy, freedom, equality, justice. And we say ZANU-PF would not respect these values. And we then came to existence. For the last 21 years, we've been fighting against the government of Zimbabwe to respect these core values. And in our endeavor to make sure that we're forcing these things to be respected, we fought for the establishment of the new national constitution, which was then brought about in 2013. People went out in the streets to fight for this value. And finally, it was established. One of the values that we've been fighting ZANU-PF against has been the lack of democracy. We've done a lot of elections in Zimbabwe. Those elections were rigged, violence were perpetrated, abductions were witnessed, people were murdered, because ZANU-PF has been always against democracy. And as an Mdc-T, we're saying these values are sacrosanct. Even if you go back to our own internal conflict of MDC, It's centered around disrespect of the values of the party. Constitutionalism, democracy, injustice, fairness. These are the values that we believe in. The leadership you see here is not going to betray those values. If you are to look at Mdc-T, you must identify us with a values-centered people, a values-centered organization. We will respect these values. We will establish ourselves as a party that respects these values. And we are going to be the party of choice because we will distinguish ourselves from any other political party. We will distinguish ourselves from ZANU-PF. So it's unfortunate for Comrade Namasa to be held at this juncture, 40 years post-independence of Zimbabwe, to still talk about anti-democratic utterances. Very unfortunate. This country is on the international spotlight because it has been painted and regarded as a democratic state, a pariah state. And I'm really disappointed to hear that Comrade Namasa would actually go on the podium and address the audience against democracy. I call upon Comrade Namasa to come back. We have now reached a stage in Zimbabwe where we need to respect democracy in the country. We actually have democratic institutions in this country which must be respected. Our constitution, national constitution, should be respected. It must not be violated. So really, we are not going to stand with Namasa on that. We are going to make sure that we denounce that and we'll express ourselves in a manner that you will understand. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, National Chair. Over to you, SG.
Thank you very much. I want to correct my brother, Blessed Mshana, on what happened when the party split in 2018. After the death of President Changirai, the party split into two factions. The one faction was led by Advocate Chamisa. The other faction was led by Dr. Kupe. So those were factions of one political party. And what Dr. Kupe did in Bulawayo was to try to have an extraordinary Congress. So the Congress you saw in Stanley Square was actually an attempt at an extraordinary Congress. You do not form a party at an extraordinary Congress. An extraordinary Congress is in respect of a party that already exists. So she was saying that she was the leader of the genuine leader of the Mdc-T. And as we know, and as we now know, a few months down the line, the Supreme Court vindicated that position. And what the effect of the Supreme Court ruling was that the Gweru Congress held by Advocate Chamisa was a factional Congress and therefore null and void. The Congress held at Stanley Square was a factional Congress and therefore null and void. And the Supreme Court then ordered the holding of a Congress of the party. So right now, Dr. Kupe is the acting president, not of the faction that he held the extraordinary Congress in Stanley Square, or the faction that held a Congress in Gweru, but of both factions, of the whole party. And therefore, the argument that people like Dr. Kupe automatically fire themselves, it's an argument that is repeated on Twitter by people who do not have enough facts, or if they have the facts, they just want to repeat an argument that has failed in the courts. This argument has been repeated times without number in the High Court, in the 9 cases that have been brought by the MDC Alliance in court. Since this dispute started, we have only gone to court as an applicant twice, and that related to the Harvest House. But the 9 occasions that we have been in court have been at the behest of the MDC Alliance Party. They come to court with the same argument, using the same facts or absence thereof, and expect a different result. And they always fail because they present stale arguments. Um, the elections, the people who were recalled, and I want to make another correction here. When recalling people, we are not affecting democracy in any way. We are actually enhancing it. But there are two types of MPs who have been recalled. We have the proportional representation. Now, let's face the facts here. The proportional representations MPs are not chosen by the electorate. They are chosen by the political party. And when we remove a member of the proportional representation and replace with another, we have taken out a representative and restored a representative for the same people. And the prerogative of choosing members of the proportional representation lie with the party. So we have not shortchanged the electorate at all. Number two, those people who are in constituencies, they were elected by the electorate who had knowledge on which party these people belonged to. When we went to these elections, the Mdc-T, under the MDC Alliance, chose its own candidates. And people went to vote knowing that these were Mdc-T candidates under the MDC Alliance. Now, if those people have ceased to belong to the Mdc-T, is it not fair for the electorate who voted them on account of their membership of the party that these people should be taken away and presented to the same electorate should they so wish? So what we have done is to say, you are no longer a member of the party. We are initiating a vacancy, and the people of that constituency vote again in a by-election. So they can still vote the same person, they can still vote for a different person, but they've given a chance to express themselves once more. They may want Mr. Mwonzora on the basis that Mr. Mwonzora is Mdc-T. And when Mr. Mwonzora moves to PDP, they may not like that fact, and they may not vote for me. Now, what we are saying is that those people will be presented to the electorate, and the electorate will make a choice. Then on the issue of the councillors, the principal reason for the removal of most of the councillors was on the basis that they ceased to be our members. The aggravating factor was that some of them were fingered in corruption. Now we are on record that we are serious with dealing with corruption. We accuse ZANU-PF every time of paying lip service to the fight against corruption. And what we have done throughout our history is to take stern measures against corrupt officials. Under Morgan Tsvangirai, we removed 21 members of council in Chitungwiza because they'd been involved in land deals, stealing from the poor. We took action against them. And recently we took action specifically also on the basis of corruption. Now, what we are hearing our critics saying is that it is against the electorate to remove corrupt councillors. Of what benefit to the people are corrupt councillors? When we remove corrupt councillors, we are protecting the people. And more so, when we remove councillors who have stolen land, which was meant for low-cost housing, we are protecting the people whose land was stolen. And our critics say this is wrong. And we do not understand that. We will continue to take action against corruption.
And also, SG, we actually feel for the electorates that they've gone for so long without their representatives. We feel for them. We feel that. But we are guided by the law. The law says after 90 days, it must be by-elections. And we said, long back, we are ready for the by-elections. We want to go for the by-elections as Mdc-T because we want the electorates to have their own councillors and their own members of parliament. But the challenges that are there outside is the COVID pandemic. It's out of our control. I think even the state is having challenges with the managing COVID and so forth. When we take this sort of action against our own deployee, literally it's like yourself as a father when you act against your own child. When your child is gone astray, it is within the law that you take action. The action that we've taken against our deployees are like a family issue. And we follow the constitution strictly. When we are taking further action on our deployees, we follow the constitution. The electorate is not involved in the process. The electorate only gets involved when you are re-elected. And so we respect them. We are not acting against their will, but we're simply doing our duties as the leaders to make sure that there's discipline and order in our organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the media, for attending this press conference. You are excused. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go.
I mean, no, but you know what, listen. We actually cherish it because we bring out the persons that are out there. That's why that's why we're never in the person because it gives us an opportunity. No, I mean about